Chief Joseph, known to his people as Hinma tu Yalat Kekt, or Thunder Rolling Down the Mountain, is one of the most compelling figures in Native American history. His life, characterized by a steadfast commitment to peace and justice, was dramatically intertwined with the Nez Perce War of 1877, a conflict that symbolizes the struggles of indigenous tribes against U.S. expansion and forced displacement. This video delves into Chief Joseph's life, the culture of the Nez Perce, the significant battles they fought, and the far-reaching implications of their journey and eventual surrender. Born in 1840 in the picturesque Wallowa Valley, present-day northeastern Oregon, Chief Joseph was born into a tribe rich in tradition and cultural heritage, the Nimiipuu, or Nez Perce. The Wallowa Valley, a haven of green pastures, rivers teeming with salmon, and abundant wildlife, was more than just a home. It was a sacred land that embodied the Nez Perce's way of life. Their culture thrived on a delicate balance between nature and human needs, exemplifying sustainability long before it became a modern concern. The Nez Perce were semi-nomadic hunter-gatherers and exceptional horse breeders. Their reputation for developing the Appaloosa horse breed set them apart as skilled equestrians. These horses were a critical part of their culture, not just for transportation and trade, but as a source of pride and status. The Nez Perce also maintained a rich diet that included elk, deer, and salmon, complemented by camas root, which they skillfully prepared by roasting or drying to create flour. Trade was an integral part of their society. The Nez Perce were involved in a vast network extending across the Pacific Northwest, interacting with tribes such as the Yakima, Cayuse, and Walla Walla. This network facilitated not only the exchange of goods, but also cultural ideas and alliances. By the time Joseph was born, the Nez Perce had already been influenced by 3 decades of contact with European explorers, fur traders, and missionaries. This contact brought both opportunities and challenges, as the tribe learned new ways of life while facing diseases and cultural shifts. The presence of missionaries left a notable imprint. While some Nez Perce adopted Christian practices, others, including Joseph's father, Old Joseph, maintained traditional beliefs. This duality created a complex social fabric within the tribe. Old Joseph's leadership and staunch opposition to ceding land deeply influenced young Joseph. Old Joseph's adamant refusal to sign treaties that reduced Nez Perce land, such as the Steele Treaty of 1863, laid a foundation of defiance and resilience in his son. His dying words, urging Joseph to protect their ancestral land at all costs, became the young leader's guiding principle. Never sell the bones of your father and your mother. Chief Joseph rose to leadership after his father's death in 1871. His role was not that of a war chief. He was known more for his diplomatic skills and calm demeanor. His leadership coincided with an era of mounting pressure from U.S. settlers and government officials eager to push the Nez Perce onto a reservation, despite prior treaties that promised them their lands. This pressure put Joseph in a difficult position as he sought to navigate between the U.S. government's demands and his duty to his people. During these years, Chief Joseph tirelessly sought peaceful resolutions, traveling to meet with U.S. officials and advocating for the Nez Perce's right to remain in their homeland. His persuasive arguments often centered around fairness and the moral obligations of the U.S. government to honor its agreements. However, despite his efforts, the government's stance remained unyielding. In 1877, under the pressure of imminent forced relocation, Joseph faced a choice between compliance and resistance. While Joseph aimed for peace, the frustration among the younger warriors grew. The Nez Perce were a proud and fiercely independent people who had fought rival tribes and defended their territory for generations. The loss of their land was not just a territorial issue, but an existential threat to their identity and future. These tensions set the stage for the conflict that would become the Nez Perce War. The tipping point came when a group of young Nez Perce warriors, angered by injustices such as the unpunished murder of their kin, attacked and killed settlers. This impulsive act triggered an escalation that Joseph had tried desperately to avoid. Understanding the inevitable response from the U.S. military, Joseph and other tribal leaders, Whitebird, Looking Glass, and Ollicott, decided to flee rather than face capture or annihilation. The journey that ensued remains one of the most remarkable tactical retreats in military history. Over approximately 4 months, the Nez Perce covered 1,400 miles through some of the most challenging terrains in the Pacific Northwest and the Northern Rockies. Their strategy was to reach the Canadian border, where they hoped to find sanctuary with the Sioux chief Sitting Bull, who had found refuge there after his own conflicts with the U.S. government. Battle of White Bird Canyon, June 17, 1877. The first significant engagement between the Nez Perce and U.S. forces demonstrated the strategic skill of the Nez Perce warriors. Using superior knowledge of the landscape and hit-and-run tactics, they routed a force under Captain David Perry, killing 34 soldiers while sustaining minimal losses. Battle of the Clearwater, July 11 to 12, 1877. This engagement was more intense and marked the turning point where the U.S. military began to tighten its pursuit. Despite being outgunned and outnumbered, the Nez Perce managed to continue their retreat. Battle of the Big Hole, August 9 to 10, 1877, one of the bloodiest encounters of the war. U.S. forces under Colonel John Gibbon launched a surprise attack on the Nez Perce camp at dawn, resulting in significant casualties on both sides. Although the Nez Perce suffered heavy losses, they regrouped and continued their flight, demonstrating remarkable resilience. The Nez Perce employed guerrilla tactics, using their superior horse-riding skills and understanding of the landscape to outmaneuver and delay the U.S. forces. Joseph's leadership was characterized by his focus on protecting non-combatants, elders, women, and children. However, the harsh conditions of the journey took their toll, with the group suffering from fatigue, cold, and hunger. In October 1877, after months of relentless pursuit, the Nez Perce were trapped at the Bear Paw Mountains, just 40 miles from the Canadian border. Surrounded by General Nelson A. Miles and faced with dwindling supplies and freezing weather, Chief Joseph saw no choice but to surrender to prevent further suffering and death among his people. His surrender speech remains one of the most moving pieces of rhetoric in American history. "I am tired of fighting. Our chiefs are killed. It is cold, and we have no blankets. The little children are freezing to death. Hear me, my chiefs. I am tired. My heart is sick and sad. From where the sun now stands, I will fight no more forever." Despite promises from General Miles that the Nez Perce would be allowed to return to their homeland, the U.S. government reneged. Joseph and his people were instead sent to reservations far from their ancestral land, first to Fort Leavenworth in Kansas and later to Indian Territory in Oklahoma. The conditions were harsh, and disease claimed many lives. Joseph continued to advocate for his people, traveling to Washington, D.C., and meeting with President Rutherford B. Hayes. His eloquence and moral authority earned him widespread respect, but did little to change the government's policies. Even in defeat, Chief Joseph's commitment to his people never wavered. His speeches and interviews brought attention to the plight of Native American tribes, highlighting the repeated violations of treaties and the injustices they faced. He famously stated, "It makes my heart sick when I remember all the good words and all the broken promises." These words encapsulate not just the experience of the Nez Perce, but that of many indigenous communities during this era. Joseph's legacy transcends the war itself. He became a symbol of dignity and the tragic consequences of expansionist policies. The Nez Perce War is often cited as one of the last major efforts by a Native American tribe to resist U.S. control, marking the end of an era of open conflict between the U.S. military and Native tribes. The Nez Perce War and Joseph's subsequent appeals did prompt some introspection within American society and government. While immediate changes to Native policies were minimal, the war contributed to a growing awareness of the mistreatment of Native Americans. This awareness eventually influenced reform efforts and discussions on Native rights in the 20th century. Chief Joseph's story and the journey of the Nez Perce continue to resonate as symbols of resilience, leadership, and the fight for justice. The values he embodied, empathy, courage, and steadfast advocacy for peace, are universal and remain relevant in discussions of indigenous rights, social justice, and historical accountability. His story serves as a poignant reminder of the need for truth, reconciliation, and respect for all cultures. Today, efforts to preserve the heritage of the Nez Perce include historical sites, educational programs, and cultural revitalization initiatives. Chief Joseph's legacy inspires movements that aim to protect indigenous lands and uphold the principles of sovereignty and self-determination. Chief Joseph's life and the Nez Perce War offer a powerful narrative of struggle, loss, and resilience. His leadership through one of the most arduous journeys in Native American history and his unyielding commitment to his people's well-being have left an indelible mark on history. The words, "I will fight no more forever," echo through time as both a lament and a testament to the strength of a leader who fought not just for land, but for the soul and dignity of his people.